Kenna Holt is somebody that we've been recruiting, actively since, or we've been really aware of her since we've gotten to Reno. And one of our goals as a staff is to keep Division I players that can help us, compete for championships home in Reno. So we're really excited to have her join our program. I think anyone that's ever seen her play just appreciates her motor, how hard she plays. She's extremely competitive. She doesn't have a lot of regard for her physical safety if it's a matter of a loose ball. And she kind of exemplifies how we ask our team to play. So I think she's going to be a great fit for us.
What's your favorite thing about just watching her and the chance to get to coach her soon?
Just there's zero quit in her DNA. I mean, she plays so hard. She's so competitive. She's so feisty. And we always want in our team to get the most out of what they have. And I think that she's a player that will definitely do that. She's done it so far in her career. And obviously it's early in her career, but I think her competitive nature and just her fight, you love that about her.
I think it's the first local that you've signed. How important was that to you, just to be able to show that if you're good enough to play at the Division I level, that Nevada wants to keep the good players at home?
Yeah, and we want people to grow up in our community and say, like, I really want to play at Nevada. Like, what a great place to get my education. What a great place to play, and our community will support me if I go there. And so I think Kenna felt that. She really, I think, buys into our vision of what we see this program being, during her 4-year career. And, we want other players to have the same aspirations.
Is that a hard sell to her, or because sometimes kids want to go experience something new, or did she always kind of want to stay home?
Well, I think there was a point it was a really hard sell, because I think she was interested in possibly, leaving Reno and going to play other places. She has 2 older sisters that have played in college and have gone away. And I think, she took other visits, she looked around and really did her due diligence. And at the end of the day, she chose us, and, we're grateful for that.
Do you envision her more as a point guard or a shooting guard kind of playing for you?
I'd say both. Just, she is somebody that fits into kind of our mold of backcourt guards, guards that can score but also handle it. And so I see her kind of playing all 3 perimeter positions for us.
Where does this, I guess, put you with the scholarship camp going into the late signing period?
Yeah, so we will have 2 if we want. We're definitely going to look at mid-semester transfers just with the departure of a couple players that we've had this season. And then we'll definitely look to sign 1, maybe 2 late. We'll see.
You guys obviously signed a lot of transfers heading into this season. I guess, what do you want your formula to be in terms of transfers versus high school players?
I think that landscape's really shifting. If you had asked me a year ago, I'd say we want to really build this with 4-year players. But I think with the transfer portal and the way things are going, it's going to be different than it's ever been with building your program. And for us, if you can get a player that can help you that next season and sign them in March and get them on campus 2 months later and they're 20 to 21 2 years old, you know what I mean? They're more mature emotionally, athletically. They've played college basketball, and they can impact your program right away. And I think it'll just be interesting to see how it shakes out. And like I said, with building it with 4-year players last year, as the season went on, it was like we didn't have time. We needed players that could help us right away. And I think our sophomore class is definitely going to impact us. But I didn't know that on what scale they'd be able to do it this year. And so those transfers are so important to come in and help us, right away.
I mean, transfers are really a very popular thing now. I mean, is that good for the game, bad for the game, indifferent? I guess, what are your thoughts just on so many more players shaking that round?
Yeah, again, if you had asked me a year ago, I'd been like, you want kids to honor their commitment and you want this and that. But I think you're just seeing more and more that kids really want to play. And so if they're not playing or they're not getting what they thought they'd get out of the experience, it's really easy now with the transfer portal to go and pursue another opportunity. And I think as coaches, it's important that we kind of adjust with the times versus like, I don't agree with that. It's like, okay, we're trying to win and build our program and bring in great high character young women. And if they're available on the transfer portal and they can help our program, then we're definitely going to pursue those types of players.
Is there a specific position or area of need for the last couple of scholarships?
Yeah, I think we'll need a post. We're going to graduate Mar, and she's going to, I think, have a great season for us. And she's a big player that can do a lot of things. And so we haven't signed anybody to kind of replace her, and there's not anybody waiting in the wings that can do what she can do. So that, I think, would be our number one target, is trying to find, a true 4 or 5 that can play with their back to the basket that gives us size.
You didn't have great stats at USC, obviously. I guess, what are you looking for when you're looking for transfer? Somebody you had a relationship with before? Yeah. I mean, how do you know that they're going to be able to fit in and maybe overachieve what they did their last stop?
I would say their ability to impact our program with the skills that they do have. And honestly, we don't really look at the stats because maybe they're system is different. Mar had a coaching change, and for me, USC was my scout when I was at ASU, so I was really familiar with her as a freshman. So I remembered like what she was able to do, and so that coincidence actually helped, because if I had just looked at Synergy clips and didn't know a lot about her, we might have not been nearly as interested in. So it was just a kind of a good situation the way that shook out.
Anything else for Coach? Thank you.
Thank you.
You just want to start with an opening statement about your class, and then we can open up questions.
Absolutely. The 2020 class for softball includes 5 very athletic infielders. I think when you see the posts and the different things that are going out, they all are middle infielders, corner infielders, but I think what gets lost in those things and how athletic they are. Extremely athletic class, very bright class, very coachable class, and a very good fit for our culture and what we're building here in that regard. So we're just really excited about these 5, which include Mia Masasi, Jenna Lynn Sanchez, Taylor Holcroft, Samantha Oliver, and Aaliyah Rivas. Once again, we were really just trying to go after athletes in the 2020 class, and that's exactly what we were able to get.
Can you break down each of them just a little bit and maybe what you liked about them?
Absolutely. Mia Masasi, she's out of Lodi, California. She plays for the All-American Sports Academy. She can do a combination of things to play shortstop, play second base. She also is a very athletic catcher. We wanted to bring a little diversity into our roster with girls that can play multiple positions to give us more depth in case of injury, in case of a lot of reasons, be able to move girls around to put the best bats in the lineup. Mia definitely fits that mold. She runs really well. She could also play the outfield if necessary. She's a smart base runner, very talented young lady. Jenna Lynn Sanchez, she plays for Iowa, premier fast pitch. Once again, athlete, middle infielder, shortstop, second baseman, runs extremely well. Pop in her bat, can hit the ball out of the ballpark as well as hit the ball in the gap. She can bunt. She has that kind of speed. She's a sub-3 down the line. Also could play the outfield if we needed her to. So we were just really looking for athletes, middle infielders that can play multiple positions, and Jenna Lynn definitely fits that mold as well. Taylor Holcroft, SoCal Athletics out of Yorba Linda, California. High-end travel ball team, plays at an extraordinarily high competitive level with her travel ball club. She's a power bat that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. She also is very athletic and can run well. She could play third, she could play short, she could play second. Heck, she could play first or any of the outfield positions if we needed her to as well. She's just a very raw, very complete athlete, and we're really excited to have her and what she'll bring as far as who she plays for right now and the type of travel ball she plays. She'll be able to step in right away and contribute. Samantha Oliver also plays a high-level travel team called the LTG Lions. They're out of Sacramento, California. She's also from Sacramento, California, a left-handed power bat. We wanted to add some pop with what we're losing in this year's class. We needed to make sure we added a lot of left-handed. I like left-handed power. Obviously, with us bringing back Millwood and Salasa, then that's going to just be able to complement them again with another left-handed power bat. She can hit the ball out of the ballpark. She's a bigger kid that also is a dynamic fielder at first base. She's a true left-left, and it's going to bring a different dynamic to us at first base with having somebody that can really pick it and really moves well for her size. She's just extremely athletic as well. And last but not least, Aaliyah Rivas out of Riverside, California. She also plays for a high-level travel ball team, the Corona Angels. She could play third base as well as I've seen her play a little bit of second. Once again, a power bat that can hit the ball out of the ballpark, right-handed bat, dynamic infielder, good glove, good arm strength, and we're just really excited about all 5 of them. I mean, they all have a commonality of athlete, and that's what we're kind of looking for in the 20 class.
I mean, it seems like they can all play multiple positions, infield and outfield. Is that kind of a new wave for softball that you see a lot of players who can play kind of positionless ball, or is that just something specifically you're looking for?
It was something we were specifically looking for in the 20 class. I don't know if it's a new wave. I think that most coaches look for somebody that can be a little more versatile just because of the dynamic of the sport, with injuries and being able to plug and play kids into different spots, and being able to have the intelligence to play different spots and knowing rotations and what they're supposed to do and those types of things. So I don't think it's necessarily new to softball. It's just something that we really wanted to add some versatility to our 20 class that are very athletic, so we can make sure that if and when something happens, we can just go next man up.
Going back-to-back postseason, Bart, says recruiting changed at all to you? Has it opened more doors? Is it a little easier of a pitch just with some more recent success?
Yes. I mean, I think us going postseason the last 3 years has really helped us. I think that with certain things in relationships, I think as I've been the head coach here now for 4 years, I was able to foster and grow some relationships as an assistant. But I think now as an assistant, a lot of those people that I was in relationships with are now in charge of organizations. And so I think it's more about the relationships in the travel ball organizations that you have, to be able to get out and see players. Travel ball coaches have a lot of influence over players, so the better relationship you can have with them, the better off you're going to be in the recruiting world as well. We've been trying to diversify a little bit as far as who we know and kind of broaden our scope of where we recruit. Obviously, with Kendall being from Frisco, Texas, we have a couple Hawaiian kids on our roster now. And we're adding Jenna Lynn, who is actually originally from Central California, which is where I was able to first see her, but now she's out in Iowa. That's kind of grown our relationships out in the Midwest as well, which there's a lot of good ball players out there. So I think it's just about the relationship building that we've been able to do and us being very active in the recruiting world that has really helped us grow. I think the postseason, I think the overall atmosphere and culture of our program helps us the most. I mean, our best recruiting tool is our current roster. Word of mouth is a big deal in the softball world because it's a small world. And so with our players being really bought in and our culture where it's at now, I'm very pleased with that, and I think that's helping us as much as anything.
Do you look to add more players as the recruiting class goes on, or do you feel like you're pretty firm with this class kind of being done?
We'll continue to recruit. If we can find, I mean, there's certain money restrictions that we're going to have with adding these 5. But if we find somebody that is, dynamic and can help us, then we'll certainly look at those avenues and those options and try to be as creative as we can to put them in a Wolfpack uniform.
Not a pitcher in the class. Does that kind of show how confident you are with your young pitchers going forward that you didn't want to add one in this class, or is that something that could still come down the line?
Well, we had 2 in last year's class, and so that was definitely something that Coach Brianne and I talked about, and we usually want to recruit 1 pitcher every year because, like I said before, you never know what can happen. But with us having 2 freshmen right now on our roster that we really, really like, and they've had a real good fall for us, and then having Kendall coming back as a sophomore and then still having Julia as a junior, we felt that we wanted to make sure we went after athletes to try to surround that pitching staff with bats moving forward as well, so we can score some runs for them. We'll be back after pitching as we progress, but we also, you talk about the recruiting portal and those types of things, and when we look at the portal, we're looking at pitchers and power bats and different things like that in there as well. So, we don't ever rule those things out.
Has the number of transfers gone up as sharply in softball as we've seen in basketball and football and some of these other sports where it seems like it's really, really popular?
It is popular. It's very prevalent. I'm proud of the fact that we've been pretty clear of that, and our culture seems to be right. So I'm very proud of that. But, I mean, when you look at the portal, in my opinion, in the softball world, you have to be careful. I mean, chemistry is a big part of our game. Culture is a big part of our game, and I think that can't be underestimated when you are bringing in somebody maybe midweek, mid-break before the season starts. Who are you adding? What are you adding? So it would have to be somebody that we possibly were going after before, somebody that we already knew. I mean, then there's all kinds of factors into whether we go after a kid depending on why are they leaving the last school they were at, what was the issues there, is it going to create problems within my roster, and we just won't take that chance unless it's you're looking at big time arms and different things like that. How long is their stay? Are they a senior going into their senior year? Is it a 4-month commitment? Is it a year and a half commitment? What is the commitment on those kids? I mean, all those things factor into our recruiting and what we do with the portal. It factors into our recruiting as of freshmen as well. How do they fit in with us, and how do they fit in with our culture?
How do you figure that out? Because you could probably tell a little bit easier whether they can play at your level just, on the diamond, but how do you figure out, what are the steps you take to make sure that they'll be a right fit for your culture and personality-wise?
Are you talking about the portal or freshmen?
No, just freshmen.
Freshmen in general, you get to know them. You talk to travel ball coaches. You watch their demeanor and their personality. You watch their interactions in the dugouts and on the field with their teammates. You see how they talk to their parents off the field. You pay attention to every little detail you can pay attention to find out who that player is. And then once the time comes around to be able to actually talk to that young athlete, then you dive into those things and you talk to them about your culture, what the expectations are, and you talk to them about, who they are, and it becomes more in the recruiting process of that relationship building that it's just as much about what their goals are and what their dreams are and who they are as people off the field as it is on the field. And once you get that dynamic and then you build that trust, then you have a culture that you want.
Any other questions for Coach?
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.